Welcome to episode 23 of the Sideletters podcast, the weekly B2B insights on film, tech, and future business in Europe, made for professionals and decision makers in the creative economy, such as you. The Sideletters is a conversation between us, three European producers, and our guests, exploring what's going on in the markets, and we share our individual perspectives on that. It's July 8, and we got a couple of things to talk about. Big episode again. Karlovy is in full swing right now, and Joanna sat down with Hugo Rosák, the festival's head of industry, to talk about what's really happening on the ground there. That's coming up a bit later in the show. And first, we're going to talk about money, especially some relevant players' money, and why they suddenly don't want to spend it. Yes, and all of this matters for the creative industries in Europe. Jennifer's, again, traveling, giving a workshop this time in, where? Malta. So today it's me, Fabian Massa, producer working in Berlin and Hamburg.
And me, Anna Szymańska, producer working in Warsaw, but reporting from Karlovy Festival. All right, Fabian, we have plenty to talk about. Let's start with the big story. Actually, two stories that landed almost the same time this week, one in Germany and one in France. And together they give a pretty clear picture that the streamers are turning up the lobbying heat against investment obligations in Europe. So how does the situation look in Germany?
Yeah, at the Munich Festival, which closed last week, Amazon and Netflix representatives sat on a panel next to German officials, and basically they were saying, we don't get why this law needs to exist. With this law, they meant the investment obligation. So they talked about that these 8% that they are obliged to invest, or 12 if they want to have some extra rights retention benefits, but the 8% is the minimum. This is something that they cannot really afford, and they don't see why it's happening like this. And this law is supposed to kick in 2027, and it's even much lower than in France, as we all know. But they're complaining here, and they're just using the festival as a platform to present like a report. And whenever I see the lobbyists underlining the importance of this report, I see that they give these guys who wrote the report so many titles, like, this is a report written by Professor, Doctor, this and that, you know? And I got some COVID vibes here when they were always presenting some studies that Professor, Doctor said. It's all not that dangerous, you know?
It's valid. If you have all these academic titles, I'm sure you know what you're talking about.
I really got 2020 vibes here. Anyway, so they were using it, but it was not only in Germany, because at the same time there was some uproar in France, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as every of our listeners know, we love France here in this podcast. And they already have one of the trickiest systems in Europe. 20% of local revenue has to go into French and European content since 2021. And Netflix and all other streamers have been living with that for years, but now suddenly it seems that they are kind of uprising against it, because France had doubled the sub-quota for animation, documentaries, and live performances. So like specific genres would need to be invested more in. And that kind of prompted the Netflix France content chef Pauline Duvin, who wrote an editorial in Le Monde, and that basically that editorial basically says, well, this goes a bit too far, and Netflix, along with Prime Video and Disney Plus, have now formally appealed the rules to France's top administrative court. And the main argument was that forcing an exact genre mix by law turns diversity into a checklist and threatens editorial freedom. And I mean, we will get into a discussion. I don't even want to start how this makes me angry when I'm hearing these ridiculous arguments about, allowing smaller genres to actually be seen and produced. Anyways, in that editorial, Netflix's own numbers sort of undercut the argument, because they say they have invested over 250 million in a year in France. They produce more than 160 films and series since 2014 and contributed over 2 billion to the French creative economy. So it doesn't look like they are a company that is crushed by regulations, if you know what I mean. They are still making a lot of money, and they have built a very profitable relationship with a market that's already regulated. So now they want to kind of restart the negotiations. They sort of want to use the power position they have as a kind of studio, commissioning studio, and talk from the position of strength. So I would like to use our time here on the side letters to make an actual case why investment obligations are a no-brainer for all the stakeholders involved, filmmakers, producers, but also for the streamers. Fabian, what's your take on this?
I mean, we had this before, but it's all an ecosystem apparently, and this is just about to giving their fair share back. If you make money there and yet they don't pay taxes in France on what they do, I believe, so they have to give something back. And actually, I mean, this is two different things. In Germany, they're speaking about the 8% per se, so they're not even speaking about some editorial questions, genre mix and everything. It's just a number that they're fighting. And, in France, it's 20%. In Germany, it's 8, and they already start crying. So, I mean, I think it's also a game. You have to do it. It's a negotiation. It's a game that they have to play. And the lobbyists, I mean, they're hired to do that, so they have to do it. But it's actually it's a no-brainer to have this investment obligation, because if you don't pay a tax, even if you would pay a tax, but you are a relevant player in the market with a certain volume. I mean, in France, 160 films in 12 years, 160 films in series in 12 years is not so much. I mean, if you cut it down per year, it's, I don't know, 12 or 15. But the volume of budgets that they put in there, and again, that they make money there based on an ecosystem that was there already. And so they have to be obliged to give something back to nurture that ecosystem, because I think, and that's where it comes back. It's actually a zero-sum game, because they would benefit again from a strong ecosystem. And I mean, it's like very much, I don't know, maybe it's corporate thinking that you say, okay, we don't need this ecosystem, we build it ourselves. We have some line items in our budgets, and
Jesus.
that's going to match up. But this is not how creativity and excellence work. And
Yeah,
they,
I
I think they know that also, but they have to play that game. That's how it looks to me.
Okay, so basically capitalism, right? But I also feel that there are a few kind of perspectives we can look at this situation. Because what they are basically doing, from my perspective, is they are in extraction business. They are not in creation business. They are in it's like oil or gas, they are extracting talent. They are extracting stories. They are tapping into valuable resources, throw money at it, and then create a value for themselves. So, like any extraction business, this should be regulated. It's not about regulating success, as they like to frame it. It's about regulating a business that actually sucks out creative force and creative powers from our continent. That's one thing. The other thing is that they didn't build this ecosystem in the first place. I mean, the talent they are benefiting from has been brought up by public schools, public subsidies, stipends from public funds, by generations of independent filmmakers who tried and failed and tried again. And these guys show up with their infinite scale, and they say, well, now you're going to play by our rules. I don't think so. I don't think so. That should be also the perspective we have. And another argument about going against these specific genres and this, I don't know who even can believe this lie that market will create diversity itself. Jesus, I mean, it's 2026. And look around, markets will create diversity if they are stimulated to create diversity. If there are, I don't know, if there is support for people opening bike rental business because we are transferring into green ecology, people will open bike rental businesses, If there is no encouragement to explore new genres, new titles, going maybe into more risky, more demanding productions, no capital will ever do it. Capital is risk averse. That's the thing. It's the role of the state to take risks, to explore, to progress. Jesus, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but you know what I mean, guys.
And I mean, yeah, you have to put that against the numbers that they, the money that they make in France. So the numbers that we found is that in France they have around 14 to 15 million subscribers, and if you just say each of them contributes with 100 euros to the revenue, which is actually is more, but let's make it simple. It's 100 euros, then it's 1.5. It's 1.5 billion euros every year in revenue. So they have some cost for equipment and overhead and I don't know, like energy, all that stuff, marketing and all stuff. But 20% of that is 300 million, and the
Yeah.
other 1.2 billion is their revenue with for their opex and everything. So they still make good money.
No, but but Fabian, this is what I'm really concerned about and kind of angry also. We are confusing the cultural business with the business of making money. This is business of culture. It's a different type of business in a way, you know? We are not here to, I would say, optimize the costs at any cost. We are actually here to deliver cultural diversity, cultural identity, to allow audiences to have choices rather than be, forced to watch only one type of content. I'm sorry, I don't believe that the streamers, if they are not encouraged by regulations, would do anything that exceeds the mediocre kind of the en masse type of production. And it's not being judgmental about audiences. No, I think that there has to be all sorts of content. But this is exactly the fight, that we need to have options to produce different things, because I can easily, Jesus, I'm getting so angry when
I
when
have
we
a
talk
bit of
about
a
this.
different perspective on that, as you know. I mean, I'm also, I understand what you say, and this is also very important. But I also think that there should be businesses such as Netflix. I mean, we always talk about Netflix. This not
Of
goes
course. I
against
mean,
Netflix. It's just
I'm
the
sure everybody knows I'm not against streamers. I am for a
yeah,
yes,
exactly.
I am for a diverse market. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
so I'm
opting
I'm
for.
I'm also for that, and there needs to be also a business perspective behind it, and it's totally fine if companies are successful and making business in this culture with like popular content. Or I mean, they at least they tried something. And in Germany, actually, also from a creative side, when they came here like 10, 12 years ago, they open up also a lot of creative freedom here in the beginning, but because they wanted to have this image, and they were investing heavily in that, and it was like a lot of freedom suddenly here. And also the public TV, the incumbents, they had to also to keep up with that. So
Yeah,
that's to their credit, and I think
of
we
course,
need we
of
need these
course.
businesses also to innovate and stuff like that. But we're not talking here about taking all the money that they make away. We just say
Yes.
you have to contribute a fair share.
Yes, I think my kind of emotional approach to this comes exactly from that argument these lobbyists from streamers are making. It's framing it as it's either or. Well, it's not. You can have both. I mean, actually, this is, in a way, this is not a zero-sum game, in a way, because if you have diverse players, you can have diverse types of content. And how I read their narrative, it's either our way or the highway, you know? And I also want to make an economical argument so I don't come across as this kind of cultural loony who only looks at doing the edgiest of edgiest stuff. But think about it like this. Investing in local production isn't only about this cultural nostalgia. It's also about investing in local businesses. Because if there is a pool of money to produce independently, to produce animation, to maybe produce VR, XR experiences. That means that local producers can expand their collaborators base. There can be new companies that open up because they want to specialize in doing XR experiences or doing vertical series. So I think the regulations and bigger players contributing to the general wealth of the market also stimulate the growth of that market and its expansion and its professionalization. I don't buy this argument that the only wisdom held by how to professionalize the industry only comes from the streamers. I mean, we have created these industries for 80, 90 years, and I think streamers should learn to play along rather than adapt this very, very American approach that we are here, we are the best, everything else, doesn't really matter.
Absolutely right. And one thing to add, maybe, if money comes back to the ecosystem in a fair way, this makes the producer stronger. Because I mean, all the ideas that we're presenting, all the development risks that we take to find interesting stories to tell that also might work on a streamer's audience. I mean, we're investing, and the stronger the producers are, the more interesting ideas are coming to their tables, and that's also where they profit from, because we're taking the risk, we innovate, and we should be able to, because if that dries out, I'm wondering where the stories for Netflix are coming from them. Just by them, it's going to be boring.
We see this. We see this. Everything's gonna look like, algorithmic and numerical and repetitive. I mean, this is the thing. If you get a monopoly in anything, people from Central Eastern Europe, we remember monopolies very well. If you get a monopoly in anything, it suddenly means that you cannot buy, a brown shoe with blue laces with green
Yeah.
sole, because nobody wants to produce them, because you only get brown shoes. That's it. So apply this logic to your entertainment. Of course, we all have guilty pleasures. I love watching Bridgerton, but I also would like to every now and then watch something different.
Yeah,
And
that's you're
speaking
right.
of Bridgerton, I think there was another story circulating this week that we can kind of connect to this, which is
Yeah.
about seasonality on Netflix. And maybe I'll give a brief recap of that. Lucas Shaw from Bloomberg published a story that showed that Netflix biggest hits are losing more than half of their audiences by second season. One Piece lost over 30% over season 2. Beef dropped more than 70%. Night Agent 50% for season 2, and then 35% for season 3. And that's from Netflix own data. And I think that is a very interesting showcase that exactly proves that you have to build a relationship with the audience. You have to give audience some sort of predictability to engage them. And you have to give them also credibility that the show they loved will not be canceled for fiscal reasons, So yeah, I think that is an interesting argument in the whole context of this discussion.
I think there's two ideas that I have here, or two perceptions. Is if you have the first season that's going well, you don't need to develop the whole universe for the story if you want to make a second season. So you save some energy there. You don't have to hire the totally new crew. You don't have to have super complex decision processes within Netflix or within the streamer, let's say. So it makes a lot of things easier. So maybe only having 50% of the impact on the second season, maybe it's still good enough. I don't know. But there's also another thing, and that's the second thing, is what's interesting, what many people are not aware of. Netflix is fully capitalizing its production cost. Meaning...
Yes, exactly. Explain.
Meaning, it's a stock market company, so the balance sheet has to look good, right?
Yeah, but this is what I said. It's a business of making money, yeah?
Okay, it's fine. It's a business, so let's just accept this. But the thing is, the way they capitalize, it's really not comprehensible for me. Because the production, if capitalizing means that you spend 10 million euros, let's say, on a season, you put the 10 million in your balance sheet as an asset, saying, okay, I spent 10 million on this series, it has a value of 10 million at the same time. So, and you and I, we both know, and I think many of our listeners too, that the production budget never reflects the value of a film, because the value of the film is what the market is willing to pay. So, Obsession, made for 750,000, is not valued 750,000.
Wow, I have to adapt this in my company. That would make me extremely rich.
How many millions did you make so far? If
you don't want to know, but I mean, I can't say it on air because tax, IRS would chase me. But I mean, this is amazing.
Make sense.
I'm a very wealthy producer.
It might make sense for an accountant. They say, okay, 10 million spent here, 10 million there. But the thing is, Focus Features was ready to pay, I don't know what, 20 million or 15, what was it for Obsession? So it was worth that price. Obsession was worth that price for them. But it was made for 750. Now the film sits at 400 million worldwide, box office, I have to say. But it's still more worth than these 15 or 20 million. So on the other hand, you have like films that bombed, like the Marvels, and they just, I don't know what the film cost, maybe 200 million. Is it really worth 200 million on a balance sheet? I don't know. So
they basically present their production as if they were real estate. Like, this is the file that's worth 10 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I produce a car and I just put it there, and So the thing is, this is not how it works. I mean, I don't have any better idea actually what to do with it, because if you produce a film or a series that you put right away on your streaming platform, you don't sell it, right? You just that just one thing. You sell subscriptions. So how do you
Yeah, but
value
that
that?
also makes sense. That would make sense in their kind of editorial choices because, of course, if you can have more shows, produced cheaply, you suddenly have a lot of assets. It looks like you're growing in scale, that you have more and more on your balance sheet. Jesus, I think this is very interesting. I'm not an expert at all in stock market and how the financing structure of a stock market company works. But I think this is, from my perspective, this bigger problem of actually perceiving yourself either as a company that's involved in entertainment and culture or a company that's there to just generate profit for the stakeholders. And again, I'm not against making profit. I just say that in our industry, profit is made a bit differently than in oil, gas, or car manufacturing.
Yeah, and it's adding up. They have. I mean, first of all, Netflix. We always talk about Netflix, but the others do it maybe the same way. But looking at this company, they the content assets in their balance sheet is more than $33 billion as of now. So is the library really worth that? If somebody would want to buy Netflix, let's say David Ellison wants to buy Netflix.
Oh
Is he ready
no,
to pay
no more,
33
no more,
billion for the
please.
library? I mean, probably he would love to have Stranger Things, but maybe others say he wouldn't love. So 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 that's actually the problem. And I mean, Netflix is a technology company. We know that this is not a content company. They're
Yeah.
just selling their
No, but I don't you
tool
get this
to, and
feeling
they
that
need content for that. Yeah,
yeah, don't you get this tool that we are kind of eating our own tail here a little bit? Like we are analyzing this, of course, this massive company as a case study. I'm sure other streamers do the same. But then again, I mean, what is the core? And I think this, for me, goes back to the reality of the market today, and maybe my kind of uh, appeal to the politicians and the decision makers. What are you guys rooting for? I mean, are you rooting for building massive American conglomerates, or are you guys for strengthening local economies? And I think that's the for me that's the essence of this question, because regulating the big tech, regulating the streamers will, in both short term and long term, strengthen your local market, will strengthen local entrepreneurs, and will give your local voters more diverse, more engaging content, because that is what the market is when there is real competition. Where
exactly.
if there is no competition, there is no market. And we've been there, and we've been there for a long time in Poland.
Yeah, we have to think about the consumers. You're right. I mean, why are we making this? Whatever you film you want to make or series, you think about the consumers, the audience, and an impact that you can have there. And and this investment obligation. So we're coming back to that. Is actually also a no-brainer because it adds this possibility to have more competition, more
Yes.
innovation in the market, and this is all to the benefits of the
Yes,
audience.
and if it's
They will feel
regulated, you're
it.
not
Yeah.
dependent on an accountant's whim that suddenly looks at the balance sheet and says, "Oh, let's cut this cost. Oh, Poland."
And you still make good money. You still
Yeah,
make good money. I mean, in Germany, they have around the same number of subscribers, and they argue about 8%. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, nobody wants to get regulated in that way if you don't have to.
yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, we're talking about joke numbers, and you can ask as many professor, doctors as you want. I mean, it's just
Okay,
a
let's
no
not
brainer. Yeah.
undervalue. I'm sorry, I'm doing my PhD. Let's not undervalue the quality of academic of
Yeah, we're going to put
academic
you on the other side then as
degree.
Professor Dr. Joanna Szymanska.
But I
Okay,
think it's important to have this in mind that cui bono, as the Romans said. Okay, shall we
no,
go to Karlovy Vary? Because I'm actually having a great time in Karlovy Vary. I'm loving this festival. It's a great place. I'm here for the industry events and also trying to catch up some films. And I managed to catch Hugo Rosák, the head of industry, for a super brief interview in between pitching sessions and meetings. And he will give us his perspective on what's important right now for the market, how he is trying to bring Central Eastern European content and professionals to the center stage, and what he sees as the key themes, key topics that the industry should be discussing. The quality is Very good, because the technical team of Karlovy allowed me to use their equipment. So thank you guys for that. But you, of course, still might hear some background noises because we were recording it at the industry venue in Kaiserbad. So yeah, let's hear from Hugo and let's hear what's happening in Karlovy these days.
Hello, Hugo. Lovely to have a chat with you in the middle of the industry events. Can you tell us a little bit about how your festival has been so far and what have you prepared for the industry guests this year?
Oh, it's lovely to be on this podcast. Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of the industry days right now. So it's been full swing. We have a bunch of project presentations. Yesterday, we had the KVIFF Central Stage, which is something we started last year to replace our works in progress. It's basically a showcase of directors who have done third film and more, so slightly more advanced experience, often even production teams with the directors. Uh, they're focused on Central European countries only. So that was one element. We are also presenting the book to screen program that happened today, selected 8 different books. Later on, we'll be presenting the KVIFF Talents. This is an initiative we do for the past couple of years, and it's a year-round program that where we try to accelerate development for films and series and any other audiovisual things that we find somehow daring, interesting, innovative, that we want to support as a festival. So they pitch here, but later on they go on and get a residency from the festival, a mentor, and we really try to do a tailor cut program that's customized for them. So that's something in terms of the different projects. We also showcase the midpoint development projects. And other than that, we have a bunch of different panels, talks. I just came back from a panel where we put in the spotlight a production company we believe we can all learn from in these difficult days. So we had Riff Raff Entertainment, which is the company of Jude Law and Ben Jackson. We had the head of development, Katie Sinclair, there. So we're trying to kind of address all these different ways in which we believe the industry now needs a bit of a support and a kind of different take.
I remember last year you were saying that the industry area of activities at KVIFF will be changing a little bit, that you actually want to put more spotlight on exactly more mature talent, to highlight Central Eastern European market and professionals from this area. So a year from there, do you really see already some maybe glimpses that this Central Eastern focus is bringing some positive results?
Yes, I do actually, because one of the steps we took was we kind of stepped away from just being this festival that focuses the industry from Eastern Europe. We actually said, okay, if we really want to speak Central European, then we need to also add projects that are coming from Germany, from Switzerland, from Austria, which are part of this geographic group. And yet we know that the invisible border for co-production is still very much there. We are finding that we are still in the same region, but we are not necessarily collaborating as well as we could. And so when you ask if I've actually seen anything since, so we actually are starting to see more producers coming here from Germany, from Austria. So I am very excited that we can be a space that can start breaking down these barriers. I mean, after all, this used to be a German city, so it's only fair that we, on the festival and audiovisual perspective, we are the first to kind of bring back this type of collaboration. And I know that the two systems and the two worlds are still slightly different, but I think that we now have a lot to learn from each other, because as the whole audiovisual industry sector is, burning, I think we are going to have to be supporting one another more and more. And I think there's a lot more resilience in many of the producers from this region, because they had to really fight for a position out there. And so I think this is a good way to start, exchanging how things could be, also inspirational for the counterparts in the Western Europe, so to speak.
Yeah, but talking like a Central Eastern European to another Central Eastern European, I couldn't agree more that we, from our region, we come off the market that trains us to be more resilient, to be more creative, to be more agile and adaptive. But being ahead of industry, you also have an outlook on the topics that are being discussed or the topics that producers and other professionals are bringing to the table. And this year you have a new initiative, Book to Screen. And maybe you can tell us a bit more, where is this idea originating from and why you decided to follow the suit of other A-class festivals that are highlighting books, because you also give it this individual Karlovy Vary spin, I would say.
Well, yeah. If you think about the stories from Central Europe, I see that it's so hard to access them, especially if all these books are in all of these different languages, and you can see that producers find it hard to kind of open themselves up to this region. And so we thought highlighting books from Central and Eastern Europe as IP that's available, that can be picked up and licensed and, adopted, it just like allows more of these stories to be out there, heard. And so today we had the first pitches, but we also had a think tank which was addressing the issue. We brought a bunch of producers from around Europe who have done some film adaptations, and we tried to actually address this issue of what are the constraints in this region in terms of acquiring those rights, connecting publishers to filmmakers. Why are some of these things not necessarily working? And even though we may not have the answer yet, we want to start a conversation which has not been ever really started. We all kind of took this as granted. That's how the system works. And I am very much about, let's actually look at how we can envision a better future and what do we need to do to get there. So as an industry initiative, I have always been talking about like the idea of a spiral, that you don't just have one panel and you just stay with that. And then next year, another topic comes up and everyone's excited about it. And then it stops again. Mm-hmm. So actually, we're happy to now have an idea of trying to address these issues and go to a solution or a set of recommendations.
Going back to what you just said about the spiral, I mean, these industry events really can have this certain fashions, like people talking about mental well-being, and then next year people forget about it and jump on something else. What I'm seeing, being in Karlovy Vary for I think the fourth time in a row, is that you guys are really trying to have this perseverance of addressing certain topics and issues regularly, revisiting them, also to maybe deepen the industry's knowledge on them. And I think that's, I want to applaud this and put it out there to everyone. It's worth coming to Karlovy Vary because they are very consistent in what they are doing. Okay, but then as a head of industry, again, you are trying to be the bridge, the person who combines different talents, different market perspectives. You're talking about looking at the future. What do you think are like the most pressing issues that we should address as the industry today from the Central Eastern European perspective?
Oh, this will make me sound very pessimistic, but
no, please don't.
But I don't want to be pessimistic. I believe that stories will continue to be told in whatever form. Mm-hmm. Yet I do see that we are somehow these, there's this cartoon of this person sitting on this in this burning room on a chair and saying, I'll be fine. And everything is burning. And I somehow see that in terms of funding, in terms of the predictions in the geopolitical context, in terms of the way media is consumed and how people are consuming them, there's just too many very clear signals that something is changing, and the sustainable model of keeping a production company afloat with the way the market is currently going and with the way distribution is taking its form, it's just not going to be an easy life in the next couple of years. So this issue of resilience is very much on the table. And I really feel that we, as the industry platform, need to also somehow address that. So, for example, we have here 15 producers from Czechia and Slovakia that are being trained by mentors from Film Independent in the US, who are telling them how to think of audiences more, how to package their films so that they can get more investors and private money. So I think it's good to be ready. I don't think it may necessarily happen like very, very soon, but I also think it's important to look at the various ways in which you can also cut your costs. So we have panels with AI production value showcases. Like we want producers to learn that they can actually really already use a lot of available technology. We also have a panel. And we're a film festival. God forbid we have a panel on vertical microdramas tomorrow. And again, the idea is, hey, listen, producers, you're going to have to be, diversifying what you do. You have to no longer be snobbish about doing series, and you need to start having a portfolio, a slate of various different things that will keep your people, your talent, your crew, yourself, afloat financially. So you can maybe push out one of the, dream films that you always want, but you need to start like waking up. And I think slowly people are realizing that. And so I'm just basically building the program around that without being too pushy, and just kind of slowly, gently indicating. And maybe next year we're going to have like a hospital for producers here and we're a mental asylum where we will try to take care of them, because maybe we were not fast enough with all this.
Well, I think Karlovy Vary is a perfect place to be sent to recover from your mental burnouts and to promenade. Okay, I don't want to take too much of your time, but just to wrap it up, do you have time to enjoy the festival, to watch some films? How does it look like from a cinephile perspective? Because you're not only ahead of the festival, right? You're also involved in production. So from that perspective, personally, how are you enjoying the festival?
We just got access to the video library, yesterday. So just like all the other industry guests have. So I'm actually hoping maybe tomorrow night I'm gonna, if I don't manage to get into a screening, which is very hard because I need to be on the phone. So I'm just gonna maybe sit in my room and just watch a couple of the films like the industry way,
Thank you so much for your time, Hugo. Good luck with the rest of the festival. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, that's it for today. Thanks to Hugo Rosák and to my co-host Joanna Szymanska, and always also to Jennifer Sapa-Imagine. Make sure you follow our community on LinkedIn. That's simply the Sideletters. And see you next Wednesday when we will be back with B2B insights on the creative industries in Europe.